So one weird thing I noticed in the premium fidget world, and the reason I made this video, is that magnetic sliders have the most options out of any mechanism I've seen in the premium fidget world. There's literally hundreds of different magnetic sliders from different creators, and when I first joined the space, I was so confused as to why there was so many of this specific thing. Why do people like it so much? What's the big difference between all these different creators? And when you have limited funds to spend, which I do, you can't buy everything. So why why is there so many options? Which one should I buy? What should I even be looking for? It kind of gave that paradox of choice where I was almost paralyzed because I didn't want to make the wrong decision. And so hopefully this video will clear some things up for you if you're having some analysis paralysis in terms of what magnetic slider to get. And if you've never had a magnetic slider or you're new to magnetic sliders, I can give you a brief overview too. So I'll start out, first of all, with the best slider I have and compare it to the worst slider I have. So this is a $9 slider I got off Amazon. It was the cheapest slider I could find on the internet. So $9, 2-day shipping. And yeah, if you're going to get magnetic sliders and you want to see what the hype is about, don't get the $9 slider because the magnets are too weak and you just don't get the same experience as these other magnetic sliders. So there's definitely a difference specifically in terms of magnets. And if you're not versed in magnetic ratings, which I wasn't, N52 is pretty much the strongest commercially available magnet you're going to get. And anything below like N30 range or magnets that are unrated, you want to shy away from because those will be too weak. From the Fidget Discord I'm a part of, a lot of people like N40, I believe is the rating. N42 maybe, like I forget if it's, I think it's N35, N42 or N40, and then it's N52. But that mid rating a lot of people like. And there's also the size of the magnets. That makes a difference. So just make sure you're at least getting rated magnets. And I think you'll start getting quality magnets around the $30 price point. This was about $70, $80 for reference. And you can also get nice 3D printed ones with good magnets. So this was a $60 3D print versus a $9 3D print. And you can see the magnets pop right off. But in terms of play, once you get magnets out of the equation, there's two primary setups. There's one with one plate. It's called hybrid, where one plate has 6 magnets and one plate has 8. And there's the 8x8, which you can see here, where there's 8 on one side, 8 on the other, versus 6, where these 4 would be 2 instead, which is called the hybrid approach. And the hybrid approach is more conducive to skill tricks. Whereas the 8x8, I find fun because you can do 3 clicks. Whereas here, it's just 2. But you can swing this around more. I haven't decided which one I like more. Most are customizable, so I can always take the plates off of this Orasan Pro and Orasan Slim, and I can just replace these magnets, so it's an 8x8 and an 8x8, and it has the same feeling. But aside from that setup, and aside from the rating of magnets, the play is really similar. If I had only purchased this, I would understand what it's like to play with a magnetic slider. So I wouldn't get your head too wrapped up. That being said, when you get into the subtleties, and I have a couple reviews on my channel and I'll continue to post more, there are some subtle differences. So do pay attention. If I had to rate all the sliders that I played with, the Orasan would win. And the reason is the friction between the plates. Number one, this is Teflon, this is stainless steel. You can look at the coefficient of friction of different materials, but Teflon is one of the lowest commercially available. And so the slide is just super nice. So I think magnet strength, magnet positioning, and then the friction between the two plates are probably the top 3 differences. But really, it doesn't matter too much. but it is nice when I'm talking subtle. The fourth place thing, and I'm ranking these in terms of importance. The fourth most important, I think, is also the grip on the face of the plates, because this will determine how tired your thumb gets if you like miss it like that and drop it off. I like the Aura Sand because it's grippy. I like the 3D prints because they're grippy for that reason. This is Cladis and Rage 3D collab. So you have this kind of X design where your thumb can fit in, along with this honeycomb pattern. So there's a lot of grip for my finger, and that matters to me a lot so that I'm not pushing past it and my thumb doesn't get tired. Fifth is the width. So you have something that I don't have here, but the Unquiet Hands Wispy slider is, like the name suggests, wispy, very thin profile. And I've heard feedback from others that wears down on your thumb muscles because it's a little harder to grip. So this is a slim, but it's still thick enough that I have something to grip. There's some indents there. But really, that does not matter too much. Again, this is just for people who are pros. And then we get into the sixth category, and this is definitely where it gets subjective, and this is something that's multifunctional. So you have the Puchicon, that has these little haptic dome switches, and these are magnets, so they're quiet. So you have buttons to press. So, I wouldn't rate this as the best slider in terms of, I'm not going to do tricks on this Puchicon, but in terms of pressing and doing the button press, I think this is number one. And obviously the reason I actually got this is the art. This is just so cool out of Japan, 3D printed. But then you have something like the Juicy CD Armor that has a tuning fork, so you can feel that vibration and you can hear it as well. This one, really high friction, not very fun as a slider, but very nice vibration in hand, very nice sound. Annoys my wife to no end, but you can find other ones that have like a tray here and you can push a magnet around within the tray. But in terms of like the core feel of the magnetic slider, it's still very much the same. Once you get the magnets out of the way, all these are pretty much the same. There's slight variations, for example, in the Mountain and the Breakthrough. The Mountain was designed as a competition slider, so was the Breakthrough. And by competition, I mean specifically for high skill cap tricks. I set this Breakthrough up as an 8x8, and I set the Mountain up as hybrid. But yeah, like there's slight differences in weight, and I'd say that's probably number 6 or 7. I like the 61 grams, about, if you can look at the weight, is about the weight of a fidget slider that I enjoy. The lighter ones are fine, but I find they fly out of my hand a little bit easier just because they're not stuck in place. They don't need as much input to drive them forward as something that has a little bit more mass. So that 61 grams is about what I target. That's about how much the Mountain is. That's how much the Slim Pro is from Aura. And yeah, I think those are the top differences. And so if you are looking at getting a slider, I would definitely recommend the Aura Sand Slim. But if you get one, or if you already have one, you're really not missing out on much, in my opinion, unless you're really into that super subtle tactile difference. But the play is going to be the same. There's only going to be slight differences in the friction, the weight, the grip on the plate, and if there's any extra play mechanisms. And don't buy $9 sliders. That's it for the video. If you have any questions or there's something I missed, let us know in the comments. I think we all appreciate when you all do that. And that's it.